So, Jon Stewart, yes, the guy who's been whining about Republicans ever since flip phones were a thing, finally lost it on The Daily Show. Full-blown meltdown, smashed a coffee mug, cut his hand, blood everywhere. It looked like a scene out of a horror movie. If horror movies were about overpaid liberals crying about Elon Musk saving us money, here's what it looked like.
And 10 is all of them, right? It would be embarrassing if it was a small drop in the bucket and that the American people didn't expect that we should negotiate for all their f***ing drugs because we've already paid for it with our subsidies. Come on! I'll be going to the hospitals. What we do with pharmaceutical companies is like the greatest restriction of freedom in this country isn't DEI and pronoun pressure. It's f***ing poverty and struggle. And the government's role, I'm not done, you bastards! It's fine. The government's role should be to end the corruption that enables...
Let's be real. This has nothing to do about drugs or efficiency. This is personal. Jon Stewart is big mad that Elon Musk is running the Doge show while he's stuck yelling behind a desk. So he smashes a mug, world's most dad, it says, which is ironic given that he's the helicopter mom of socialism, cuts his hand, bleeds everywhere on live TV like he's auditioning for Saw 17. The audience gasps, and he yells, "I'm fine," because, nothing says I'm fine like a grown man reenacting Django Unchained. And apparently this wasn't the first time.
It's important to remember who the real heroes are. So... My favorite thing out of all that sort of Indy 500 pit stop trying to keep the car on the road was, and I'm not even sure who said it, but they just go, "You want some duct tape on that? Old electrician's trick." I'm like, sure. For those of you who watched the show for many, many years, you will know this is the second time that I have, going for physical comedy, cut myself to the point where I need stitches.
Whew, okay, and then get this. He tweets out, "We're back. New Daily Show tonight. It's a bloody good episode. Emphasis on bloody. I'm an idiot." Well, John, we've known that for a few years, but thank you for the confirmation. Here's the truth. Doge is cutting waste, saving billions of dollars, and the left is so triggered over this that they're literally bleeding. Yeah, maybe next time, John, skip the caffeine and leave the heavy lifting to the adults. Look, this is all in good fun, but the left is so triggered over Doge that they're just flat out ignoring all the good that the administration is doing. Just earlier tonight, there was a huge announcement coming out of Ukraine. According to the New York Times, the United States and Ukraine agreed to minerals deal, officials say. This is big news. So the Washington Post also confirmed this, and they have an excellent breakdown of the deal. The broad outlines of the deal would grant Washington partial access to Ukraine's minerals, oil, and gas, part of an effort by the Trump administration to recoup the costs of U.S. war aid and, advocates of a deal say, offer a form of security to Ukraine by deepening U.S. investments there. I think this is a brilliant strategy. Since NATO is off the table, by prioritizing U.S. interests in Ukraine, we're able to offer an implicit guarantee of some level of safety without making a specific promise that could be used or held against us. And this deal is beneficial for both parties, according to the Financial Times. The final version of the agreement, dated February 24 and seen by the Financial Times, would establish a fund into which Ukraine would contribute 50% of proceeds from future monetization of state-owned mineral resources, including oil and gas and associated logistics. The fund would invest in projects in Ukraine, and obviously the U.S. would have some sort of stake in the fund as well. Now, a separate New York Times article goes into great detail about the different types of minerals and deposits in Ukraine. Ukraine has deposits of 20 of the top 50 minerals that we need as a country for economic development and defense. So number one would be titanium, which is used in everything from airplanes to implants to, yes, even paint and cosmetics. Next is lithium, which is a crucial element needed to create batteries. Third is uranium, which is used in nuclear power plants as well as nuclear weapons. By the way, Ukraine has the largest uranium reserves in all of Europe. And bullet point number 4, a whole host of rare earths. So this is just brilliant, great news. A lot of Democrats were trying to give Donald Trump a whole bunch of crap because, during the campaign, Trump said famously that he would end the war in his first day. He would end the war before he got into office. Now, obviously, most of his supporters understand how Trump talks. When he talks, a lot of the time, we're not meant to take him seriously. A lot of time, it's hyperbole. He's just trying to make a point. And he's sending a message that, hey, the status quo isn't going to work anymore. And the reality is here we are, it's February 25, in a little more than a month. Donald Trump has done more in regards to progress with this war than Joe Biden did over the last few years. And if he is actually able to do something, I believe he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. And that's exactly the point that Scott Jennings made on CNN. I think he shocked his colleagues, but this was just a brilliant monologue.
I'm willing to give the new administration some latitude to try to enact the political will of the people of the United States, and that is for this to come to an end. The political will to continue to funding an open-ended engagement is draining rapidly. I think you would acknowledge that. And so Trump here is a new broker on the field and has a chance to do something amazing, and that is to get these two people to stop fighting, and in that case would bring some stability to the continent of Europe. And, what he has to say publicly about Russia or Ukraine over the course of time, I guess I'm willing to give them some latitude if the ultimate result is this, what Pete Hegseth said initially, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine, those were his words. The United States strikes a rare earth mineral deal with Ukraine. I would love that. And the governments in Europe decide that they do need to take a little more responsibility for their own national security. If these are the outcomes, and the killing stops, they ought to give Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize.
And it's not just Ukraine, by the way. This actually has a lot to do with China, and that hasn't been talked about a lot. So one of the things that people have been saying about this Trump administration is just how shocked they are at how fast the Trump administration is moving. And that doesn't happen by coincidence. That isn't luck. That doesn't happen overnight. And yes, even if you're a hard worker, you can only work so hard, right? The reason they're able to do so much is because of the planning that they did during the transition process. And a lot of the times, we don't know what they've planned until after the news breaks, until after they've done it. So part of this Ukraine deal does have to do with China, according to the New York Times. Ukraine could help break a Chinese near monopoly on some rare earth metals needed for mobile phones, other electronics, and possibly future technologies. It's clear that Europe, Japan, and the United States are all dependent on China for rare earth minerals. And if this deal goes through, just great news all around. I mean, if we no longer have to rely on China for rare earth minerals, fine by me. And if Trump is actually able to pull this off, then he deserves so much more credit than he's currently getting. Now, the final story of the day, Caroline Leavitt held a press briefing in the White House earlier today, and she made an announcement that had the press more ticked off and livid than I've ever seen them. So if you watch raw footage from the room, you can really hear the gasps and the anger and the chattering coming from the press. The reason I'm showing you the piece of footage I'm about to show you is because it has the best audio of Caroline Leavitt, but even though the mic is focused on her, the mic is obviously right next to her mouth, you can hear a few gasps from the reporters in the room as she makes this announcement.
As you all know, for decades, a group of DC-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility. Just like we added a new media seat in this briefing room, legacy media outlets who have been here for years will still participate in the pool, but new voices are going to be welcomed in as well. As part of these changes, we will continue the rotation amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the President's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today. We will continue to rotate a print pooler who has the great responsibility of quickly transcribing the president's remarks and disseminating them to the rest of the world. And we will add outlets to the print pool rotation who have long been denied the privilege to partake in this experience, but are committed to covering this White House beat. We will continue to rotate a radio pooler and add other radio hosts who have been denied access, especially local radio hosts who serve as the heartbeat of our country. And we will add additional outlets and reporters who are well suited to cover the news of the day and ask substantive questions of the President of the United States, depending on the news he is making on that given day.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And yes, to confirm, because I do get questions on this in my videos, I have requested to be part of that new media seat. From what I understand, they're rotating through people. But rest assured, my application is submitted and in the pool and under consideration. That's all I can say about that. The media and Democrats are freaking out about this. They're saying that Trump is attacking the press, he's attacking the First Amendment, but Joe Biden has actually banned people from the White House before. So, according to the Daily Signal, White House purges 442 reporters using new press credential rules. And just to confirm, Fox News also reported at the time more than 440 reporters lose press passes after White House changes requirements. So, Donald Trump isn't banning anyone. They're just saying, hey, we're not going to use the WHCA, White House Correspondents Association. They're just going to choose it instead of having an unelected pool of bureaucrats, well, not really bureaucrats, but unelected pool of journalists choose which journalists and correspondents and outlets get to ask questions that day. The Democrats are acting as if this is an assault on our constitutional republic, but WHCA was only created in 1914. So it's barely a century old. It hasn't been here since our founding. This is, if you think about just within the scope of the history of our country, it's a relatively new development. And so, yeah, with new technologies, new media, and then obviously a legacy media that we can no longer trust, why not try something new? Why not break it up? It would be a different story if the Trump administration was blocking media. And, you know, I get there's the whole controversy with the Associated Press, but it's not as if he's blocked CNN, MSNBC, and you know what I'm saying. It would be different if he blocked all of those and he only let in people like Sean Hannity. Okay, then I'd be going, okay, something's off, something's fishy, something's not right here. But there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, let's bring more people to the table. And that's all they're doing. So just wanted to share my thoughts on that. As always, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. That is what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view. And I would love to hear from you. So question of the day, the Ukrainian mineral deal. What do you think about that? Like it, dislike it? Obviously, the situation is very volatile and details can change at the last minute as they're wont to do. But what sort of details, what do you hope to see as the details come out? What sort of specifics are you looking for, and what direction do you hope this deal takes as it takes shape? Let me know down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button, boop, boop, and check out one of these videos.